So in the last class, we saw what is obj open. We also saw what is obj save in the previous class, and the first class we saw what is obj browse all about. Today we'll be stepping one step further and we'll be trying to see what is obj open by handle. If you remember, when we were discussing about obj methods, we said these are few of the methods which we'll be seeing, and these are basically to perform, if you remember, operations with database like opening a record, CRUD operations, open by handle. So these are methods used to perform CRUD operations. What is CRUD? CRUD stands for CRUD. So if you see, CRUD stands for creating, reading, deleting and updating. Create or insert a record in DB. R stands for, for CRUD operations we are using obj methods. Reading, like reading, updating. You guys are not able to see my screen? I'm sorry. Perfect. 1 second. My bad. Okay. Perfect. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. So CRUD stands for, creating or inserting a record in DB. R stands for reading, U stands for updating, D stands for deleting a record. Okay, we can perform all these operations using obj methods. Predominantly we are trying to read multiple records, single records, stuff like that. And today's topic of discussion is obj open by handle. But to understand that, before we step further, we need to know certain concepts. What are those? We need to know what is a primary key in DB. Okay, in a database, what is a primary key is something we need to know. W3C. So in SQL is a language which they use for database to read and write. If you remember, we created a table called, customer table. Did we create a data type called customer table? Do you remember? Yes or no? Customer table, last class. And the key for this thing is customer ID. Why do we need ID? For example, the same example which we went through. For example, when you are in a class, you will have a roll number. Why do you need a roll number? You can have multiple Srinivasas in your class. It can be 5 Srinivas, but to identify uniquely each and every Srinivas, you need a roll number. Yes or no? Don't we need that? Same way, when you try to define a table in database, you need a unique ID or a key. That is something which is called as a primary key. We chose this here, right? We chose this will be a key. Yes or no? Right? In the same way, a few tables might have more than, like, a bunch of two columns can become keys. For example, when you're trying to define your Aadhaar card, your name and your date of birth, those two things might act as a key. Like, if you provide your name and Aadhaar card, based on that they can pull out a record. Don't you see that when you go to certain systems or applications, they will ask you what is your full name, sir, and also what is your date of birth? Based on that combination, they'll pull out your record. That can also become a key. But understand that every table will have a key, will have a primary key. For example, if you see here, this is W3 schools. I told you in my first class that you will need understanding of SQL basics. That is nothing but a language which you will be using to interact with a database. Database doesn't understand English. You can't say like, hey database, show me what do you have in this table. It doesn't understand. You need to ask it in a certain way. In Pega, you can do obj open, obj browse, and that is how you are going to talk to database to fetch records. But when you have to query a database, you need SQL. So if you see here, they are trying to create a table called persons, in which they want to have ID, last name, first name, age. Does it make sense? They're telling create table, persons, and they're telling ID is, they want one ID, they want last name, first name, age, and they're telling primary key is ID. Does it make sense, guys? In the sense, this will be the roll number for that student. This column, ID column, will be the roll number. Whenever you have to access that particular table or fetch a record, you need to pass the primary key. If the key is there, based on that, they can pull out the record. Yes or no? Does it make sense? Guys, making sense? Understanding what is primary key all about? Perfect. So with that understanding, every every table in Pega has a key. Every table in Pega has a key. So let me open any of the rule. For example, let me go here and let me say this activity. Okay, I opened the customer search activity. This is an activity rule. Now let us see what is the key for this. Actions. Like we see px-obj class, what is the class it belongs to. From the view XML, you can also see what is the key. If I do Control F, KEY, am I able to see something called as PZINS key? Primary key in Pega is called as PZINS key. If you remember, when we did properties, we understood that PX, PY and PZ properties are there. PX is something, PY is something which we can modify. PX is read-only. PZ is meant for internal purpose. Pega internally uses this as primary key. Any rule you create, it will be creating a primary key for that. Any rule. Very important, guys. How do you know what is the primary key for a given rule? You can come to open the rule from the actions view XML and look for PZINS key. PZINS key is the primary key for any table in Pega. You can understand that also. We can see that much in detail. Don't worry about that. Okay. So this is the PZINS key. Let me just copy this, Let's try to understand what does this have slowly. So I copied the PZINS key for one activity, which is my customer search activity. This is the key for that PZINS key. So the primary key for any root or any table in Pega is going to be PZINS key. That is something which you have to remember. We'll try to break that much further. Don't worry. That is why I gave you understanding of what is the primary key all about. In the same way, let me open this customer search flow. I opened the customer search flow. Now this is a flow rule. We saw activity. See, this was activity, right? Now this is a flow rule, a new rule, a different rule. Let us see what is the PZINS key for this thing. In the sense, primary key for this rule. View XML. Close this. Control F. PZINS key. Is there a PZINS key for this rule? Yes or no, guys? Right? This way, every rule will have a PZINS key. This is like the roll number using which you can identify this particular rule. In Pega, if you have to identify this rule, you will have to use this roll number. This is, if this guy is a student, customer search flow is a student, his roll number is that. If customer search activity is a student, his roll number is this. Uniquely you can identify. Imagine this as the roll number for that particular rule. You can identify this rule in Pega on the table using this particular key. Does it make sense? We'll see that also. I'll show you in much in detail. Don't worry. Don't break your head for that. Also, something which we have to see is the class key. Can I? Someone has joined. Okay. So going further from there. So we understood every rule will have a key, right? Any table in Pega will have a key. and that key is going to be PZINS key. PZINS key is going to be the key for any rule in Pega. Is it understood? Any table in Pega, the key will be PZINS key. Let's try to understand that from a database perspective. To understand that, I have launched my database, through pgadmin. I have launched my database. Let us try to query any of the tables and see. Let me expand my rule schema, or let us say the data schema, and then let me go to tables. Just see what we are trying to do here. Okay, don't worry. PC underscore. This my work class, guys? Do we agree? PC alpha underscore alpha auto underscore work. How do we know this? This is my work table. I can go in Pega and I can identify that from my work class. If I go to my app explorer and I can say, sorry, come to sysadmin, and then if you expand, there is a class. This is my work class. If I open this and perform a test connection, is this my work class, guys, under which all my work is getting created? Yes or no? Alpha alpha auto hyphen work, right? Every class will have a key, that is PYID. Here, for example, if you see the work class, the class key for this thing is PYID. For this class, there is a key which is PYID. Let us see. Let us do a test connection here and see what is the table. See what is the table? PC underscore alpha auto underscore work data dot. This is the table to which my work class is mapped. Yes or no? Is this the same thing? PC underscore alpha auto underscore work. Right? Data dot. When I say describe and execute this, describe is not this thing in SQL. It is a query. Okay, no problem. I can look it through properties. That is more for Oracle. This is okay. Perfect, no problem. Let us do one thing. Let us go here, right click on the table and see the properties. So it is telling, it is fetching the properties. On the work table, I came and I right clicked and I want to see what are the properties this has. Okay. Now there are multiple things. First, let's see columns. There is a huge set of columns like this. So many columns are there, which Pega internally uses. Of course, we have our own columns also, which is the first name, last name, and stuff like that, which you'll be able to find when I try to scroll down. See, first name, last name, age, so and so, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about that. We are here to identify what is the primary key. If you see PZN's key, they have enabled this thing. By default it is coming like this. Let us see what does that mean. We've seen that if you click on constraints, you will see what is the key for this particular table. What is written here, guys? Can everyone read this for me? Primary key. We told every student needs a unique roll number, yes or no? SID or roll number, and that has in every table needs a unique key. Like for customer table, we had customer ID. For this particular table, it is PZINS key. Yes or no? The column name is PZINS key. So this is the primary key for this particular table. This is how you will be understanding what is the PZINS key. This is a PC underscore table. Same way, let us try to see some PR table. This is PC underscore alpha where data is being stored. For the rule tables, I have to go for PR4 or PR, right? Let us see this PR underscore assign properties. If I go to properties and if I see constraints, will I know what is my primary key? What is my primary key here, guys? PZINS key. PZINS key is the primary key for any table in Pega. Yes or no? We saw PC underscore table. We saw PR underscore table. We will see one PR4 underscore table also. Only three types of tables are will come in Pega for internal purpose. PC, PR and PR4. We saw that when we understood data types. If you guys have doubts, you can revisit that class and you will understand. So look for the constraints. What is the primary key for this table? What is the primary key for this table, guys? PZ, yeah, it's called PZINS key is what we are going to pronounce it. PZINS key, PZINS key. So this is a very important aspect. We need to know what will be the primary key for any table in Pega, that is PZINS key. Was it understood? And the PZINS key has a format. Yes or no? We saw that, right? We just saw PZINS key for a rule. For example, the activity rule, we saw the PZINS key. Yes or no? We saw the activity rule. This is the PZINS key for activity rule. Does it make sense? This is the PZINS key for flow rule. Unique. It's like roll number for that particular. Every work object also has a PZINS key. Let us see that, right? If you see, if I open any existing work object, I can see C10008 is one work object we had created. I'm opening that and let me try to fetch the PZINS key from clipboard and show you where I can see the PZINS key. Where does the data sit for a work object in clipboard? Very good. PY workbench, right? These are basics. They should have no doubt about this stuff. You should be very quick in answering this. By this time, this should be very clear for you guys. Let us go for this work object and see what is the PZINS key. PY workpage, right? On PY workpage, let us try to look for PZINS key. Do we have a PZINS key, guys, for this work object? See, every work object will have a PZINS key and the format will be like this. The format of work objects PZINS key will be like this. We saw it from here. We can also see it in DB also. I can do, I can just take that and say select star from, or I can say PYID comma PX create date time comma PZINS key from this particular table where PZINS key is equal to control V, right? And let me run this. It's telling error. Let us see what is the error. Let me enter this. Okay, I have mentioned this twice. which is not right. So all I am saying is, hey, DB, can you show me what do you have for this particular PZ for this roll number? Am I able to fetch that, guys, from the DB also? On the work table, I am saying, can you fetch the record which you have for this particular roll number, which is PZINSK for this PZINSK. For this unique key, what do you have? It is telling the PYID is this. This was created at this time. And the PZINSK also it is printing. Yes or no? Guys, is it matching with what we see on my application also? Right? The application also is showing me that particular work object opened here. This particular work object is saved in database and I can access it through using PZINSK. And if you see the format of PZINSK value, the value of PZINSK for work objects, it's quite understandable, right? This is the work class followed by work object ID. Makes sense, guys? Or class group name. So if you go back to this guy and we have copy pasted the PZINSK for work object, right? And if you see it is, class group name space the work object ID or PYID. Yes or no? That's the value. Similarly, for activity, you will see the work object name is like activity class group activity name time stamp. Yes or no? See the format? Does it make sense, guys? Same way for this flow rule, you will see flow class, and where the flow is saved, it is saved in the class group here, that class group, and the flow name, this is the name we have saved it with, the customer search flow, and timestamp. Are we able to understand how to read a PZINS key? When you see the value, this is how you have to understand it. It might look like gibberish. What is this is what you might feel, but if you try to look at it, this is what it is showing. We saw every flow belongs to rule obj flow px obj class. Yes or no? Every activity belongs to rule obj activity class. Px obj class is this thing, and then it was saved in alpha auto work, and then the name is this, and this is the timestamp when this was created. This is unique way to identify this particular rule. This is a unique way to identify this particular work object in your database. Database saves all this data based on this thing. Consider these as the roll numbers against which the student can be extracted. Does it make sense? The purpose is to uniquely identify, the purpose of this particular PZINS key is to uniquely identify, where exactly this particular record is, So obj open by handle also does that. Obj hyphen open hyphen by hyphen handle uses PZINS key to fetch record from DB through activity. When you specify this particular method in activity, it uses the PZINS key or the primary key to fetch a single record from database, like how we did here. Did we fetch a single record from database here, guys? What did we do? We told where PZINS key is this, where roll number is 1 2 3 4 5 6, whoever is using that roll number, where the roll number is this, can you fetch that candidate's PYID, create datetime, and PZINS key is what we are saying. I can also say star here instead of these 3 columns. I can say star, and it will give me the entire set of columns available for that particular rule. See this. You see this? Commit time, save time, all additional properties which are there. When was this, updated? Which is what is the pxobj class? what is the user who has created it, what is the name if you have specified any in that particular work object, every information. See, PYID, what is the division for that particular, what is the organization to which this particular work object belongs to, what is the unit. Make sense, guys? Are we able to fetch one single record based on the PZINS key? How many records are coming when I am giving the PZINS key? One single record. To fetch one single record, we are using this, as well as using PX Obj-Open-By-Handle also. You can fetch one single record within Pega. To run such query, you have to use Obj-Open-By-Handle. When you know the PZINS key, you can use Obj-Open-By-Handle to fetch that. Okay. So now let's try to do some activity. What all I want to do is, to understand how Obj-Open-By-Handle is done, I want to change existing work objects statuses from one status to other status using Obj-Open-By-Handle. I'll show you how we are going to do it. To see what all work objects we have, I'll click here. See, so many work objects we have. And let us see what all statuses are there. We can use database also for that. PYID, comma, py status work. See, this is in new. So let us try to do. I just want everything from the database. I just don't want to look for that particular piece. If I put a semicolon, I'm ending the SQL query here is what it means. It's, I don't want the where. I have to select it. If I have to do it that way, if I select and run, it will do this. See, so many work objects in new status. Yes or no? But there are some in. Okay, let us do this thing. All I want to do is I want to change everything with pending customer info to pending new customer info. Where I want you to understand how exactly we can do it. That's why I'm showing you here, and then I do the change in Pega and you will be able to see the difference. Colon pending hyphen cust info. Let us see how many records come up. Come on, I have to select this. So I'm looking for all the work objects which are in pending customer info. How many records are there, guys? 10 records, 10 cases are there. Do we agree? All I want to do is, the activity here is, let us say the customer came back and told we don't want the status to look as pending customer info. We want it to look as pending new customer info. Let us say we want this status to be changed as pending new customer info. Now these work objects are already created. How will you change it? Because every work object has to change here, right? Whatever is in pending customer info, only those have to change into new customer info. Let us see how we can do it. The status which should look like, after we perform the development, it should look like pending hyphen new cust info. Let us also verify from the UI C8001. Okay, you see how it looks, and then let us try to verify once we are done. Where is 8001? Okay, this is 8001. This way most of the work objects will be in this status. See the status what is appearing here. Do we see pending cust info? Same thing in database, yes or no? Py work status. Now the activity we are going to perform is to understand Obj-Open-By-Handle. We are going to change the status. We have to change the status for all the cases which are in pending customer info to pending new customer info is what we are going to change. Okay, so to do that, what can we do? Okay, let's try to create a activity and try to do it. Let us say we want to create an activity in organization class. Okay, Is this my organization class alpha? Yes or no, guys? This is my organization class, right? Right. So let us say I want to create a activity in this particular class. I'll right click on the organization class, click on create, and I will choose technical, and I will say activity. All I did was I was here, I was here. I wanted to go to the organization class. I clicked here. I removed all this, hit enter, and I came to organization class. From here I can go to work also. Yes or no? If I expand alpha auto, you'll see my work class is here. Yes or no? Okay, I'm just showing you how navigation I am doing. You guys should be exploring this when you're trying to work with this particular application. You should be exploring this and understanding. So I want to create an activity under organization class. I'll right click here, create technical. Under technical category, activity rolls up, create new activity, and let me call it update status or something. Let's say update work object status. Update WO work object status. Okay, let me create and open. Mhm. It's it's driven by usability. For example, let us say you have a shoe stand in your home. Where will you keep it? Let us say you have two floors, and you have to place the shoe stand. Where does it make sense to keep the shoe stand? Of course, on the main door. Does it make sense? Why did you choose main door? Because you know that can be used by the people on first floor as well as ground floor. Yes or no? The same thing you have to identify for your application. This particular activity can be used by any work object which is created by this application. You can create it in a generic way and then you can place it at the organization level. Anyone below that organization can access it. Yes or no? When you keep it at the organization level, anyone can access it. Perfect. I'll show you what that means. Okay, yeah, perfect. If you got it, very good. Now let us create. I need few pages. I've created the activity. I got this form, came to pages and classes, exactly similar to how we did previously. I'll need a list, so I'll create a work object list because I want to extract the list of work objects which are in that particular status. For that, I need one page of code Pega list. We know why we need code Pega list. If you remember the page list class, in that we understood the parent, the class should be pointing to code Pega list, and under which I will be having px results, which will be pointing to the original class. Yes or no? Haven't we seen this, guys? Px results. Yes, no. Perfect. Okay, alpha auto, and this is work, right? And then I also want the work object results to be placed in one page. I'll take results. Just see, I'm just creating two pages, one page list and one page to hold some values. Same class alpha auto work. Perfect. These two pages I need. I created them. One page list and one page is what I need. Okay, and like we did, like if you remember, we did parameters in this thing, right? uh, I think we did it in report definition. Do we remember how we used parameters in report definition? Param dot to pass values. Did you pass values using param dot in report definition? Right, similarly I want to pass values here, so I am using two parameters, old status and new status. I'll show you once I complete it. I will be able to understand, don't worry about that. Old status, new status, and are these required? Let us say it is required. In the sense, I'll show you what this means. All I'm saying is created an activity, added the pages I would need, two parameters, old status and new status. These are of string type and they are required is what I am seeing. I will show you what this means. Don't worry about that. Right now, just carry along with me and see what I'm trying to do. Okay, perfect. In an activity, if I have to fetch more than one record, what method should I use? Obj browse. Don't we remember how we used obj browse previously? Yes or no, guys? Did we use obj browse before? In the obj browse class, we saw how to fetch more than one record. Everything comes and sits on a page list when we try to do a obj browse. Yes or no? Okay. So I will expand obj browse. I declared obj browse here. I'm expanding it. It is asking for a page name. I have taken a list work object list here. Yes or no? This particular page on which I want that data. I am saying I want a work object list which I've already declared on pages and classes, and this belongs to which class? Of course the work class. That is where all my work objects are sitting, right? This list of data which I'm trying to extract, where is it? In the work class. Yes or no? Right? That is why I want to extract that from the work class. Perfect. I don't want the get row key. I don't need the key of that particular this thing, so I'll just remove that. All I need from this thing is, if you see the query, what were we fetching when we are fetching here? Py work status. We need the status, right? What is the status for that particular work object? I can say py work status. If you do more, you should be able to find that py work status. Even if you don't find it, that's fine. You can just write it here. It should be good. It's a property which exists. Sorry, it's py status work. That's why you're not able to see it there. Are we able to find py status work? This is the property which is holding the value, right? Yes or no? Perfect. Yes. Work. Okay, I chose py status work. What should be the value, or it should be equal to? It should be equal to, let us say, I'm going to pass the old status, right? Here, what are we passing to fetch the existing records? This is the old status. This is the new status. If you pass old status, I'm getting all the records, yes or no? Which are in this particular status. Let us say I want to pass that as part of this particular activity. I will say to access the parameters, you have to tell param dot, and then you will be able to see the existing parameters. Let us say old status. And I also want to get the pzins key for this particular, from this particular extraction. I also want to get the pzins key dot pz. What is pzins key? It is the unique key for every record, yes or no, guys? Right? Every work object here will have a pzins key. C8001 is nothing but alpha alpha auto hyphen C8001. Similarly, 7008 is having also a pzins key, which is alpha alpha auto work space C hyphen 7008. Do we agree? Is that the pzins key for that other work object? Yes or no? Right? Sorry about that. Okay, so we were able to declare that. Perfect. So this is done. Let me save this. All I have done is declared a obj browse and told, can you fetch records from the database, where the status work is something which I'll be passing here. It's a dynamic attribute which I'll be passing, and the pzins key also. Can you fetch these two records from that table? What is the table? The work table. This obj class is mapped to that work table, right? Yes or no? Perfect. So this step should be bringing me all those work objects. These set of work objects it should be bringing. If you want, we can run and check. See, it is asking what is the old status you want. We have to pass that and it should be returning us that. That's okay. We'll see that later. When we are completing it, we'll do it. Now I want to loop through this particular. Once these results are coming, they are going to come and sit on px result, yes or no? All the records are going to come and sit on this particular list dot px result, because that is what we have declared. See, have we declared this particular page here, page list here, work list dot px results? The same px results is what I'm using here. What I'm saying here is I want to loop through this particular list. This list has so many work objects. What we are achieving here is we want to go into every work object and change this to pending new customer info. Wherever it is pending customer info, I want to change it to pending new customer info. That's what we are trying to achieve here. To do that, I am trying to loop through this particular list. When I get that list, I want to loop through it. I'll show you. Don't worry about that. So that is nothing but page list is nothing but set of pages, right? Bunch of pages. It will have embedded pages in that. Do we agree? So to choose that, click on loop and say for each embedded page, you want to loop through each embedded page which is present inside that loop is what we are saying. Does it make sense? Yes or no, guys? We want to loop through it and do what? I'll show you what are we going to do there. Okay. Work class, submit. We are going to loop through that. But in this loop, what do you want to do? You're looping through, fine. What do you want to do? I want to do something here. To do that, inside that loop is where you have to perform that. Very important, guys. Notice this. A lot of the developers, they don't know this. In today, also in market, they don't understand this and they don't know this. When you have to loop through a certain set of records, for example, these 10 records is what we are going to loop through. Every record you're going to open and you're going to change the status for that work object. To do that, first you have to fetch that list. We fetch that list doing obj browse. Once you got that list, you have to loop through that list. Once you loop, inside that loop, you have to perform that operation. To do that, you can right click on this particular step and you can say add child. Coming back again, we have to loop through each and every work object to change the status. To do that, we have the list ready available. Once we run this activity, that list is going to be available under this particular page list. Now I have to loop through it. To loop through it, I'll click on this particular step and say add child. The cursor will look like this, like a star anchor. When you see that, right click there and click add child. And in this child, all I want to do is, let us say I want to create a new page. I do have another page here, right? WO results. I want to use that page here. Let us say, how do I create a new page? Page new method. Have we used it? Right? We have used this page new method. And I will say the new method, the new page I'm going to create is work object results. Okay. This will be holding the work object results. I created a new page. And then if I have to add one more step to this guy, I just have to keep the focus here. Click add step and you see 1, 2, under which these are child steps for this guy. Second thing, for this second step, these are child steps. Here, choose obj. See, you should see there will be obj open by handle. In the method, pick obj open by handle. Coming back again, we created second step where we are looping through these results. And we created one step by right clicking here, and I wanted another step to loop through it. I'm clicking add step. This is adding multiple steps under this thing. So in the second step, I want to declare obj open by handle. If I type O, it will bring me to all the obj methods, obj open by handle. And same page is what I'm going to use. WO work object results, control C. Sorry, I don't even do control C. I can just do this. Results. Now let's try to fill the parameters for this obj open by handle. Let me expand it. Here it is telling me what is your instance handle. right? What is the instance handler in the sense? What is that key for which you want to open this? What is that PZINS key for which you want to open this? We know that every work object has a PZINS key, yes or no? So the PZINS key, how will we pass PZINS key here? We can't just say dot PZINS key. Inside the loop, the first PZINS key will be W result, right? W list dot px results of, just see how I am declaring it. Very important, guys. Most of the developers don't understand this. They're like, is what they say when they ask these questions in interview. Very important. Focus here. Please focus. Please just see what I have written here. Let me put it in better view. So in that step, I have told this. I'm telling px results in the sense I have got a set of results. That results has 10 pages. Yes or no? Every page has details about one first page has, for example, first page has details about this particular work object 8005 pending info, 8002 pending info, second page, third page, fourth page, like that 10 pages are there in the px results. Yes or no, guys? Do we agree? What I'm telling here is inside the loop, current means the first page. Whatever page is current, it is going through in that loop. That is what we are passing here. To when you run it, when you run this activity, what happens is, just see this first. This is the page list we have. This is the first page, and the PZINS key of that first page is what we are saying here. Does it make sense? This means PZINS key of the page index the loop is running. In the sense, whenever the control comes inside Pega in this activity on this particular step 2, for first page it creates W results, does open by handle. What is the index when it comes first for the first time? 1. Do we agree? Do we agree, guys? It is going to, we are passing that 1 here in the first index here, and we are opening that. We are opening that particular work object. What do we want to do after opening that work object? We want to update the status. Yes or no? We want to update the status. How can you update the status? I can say property hyphen set, right? I can say property set. And then what I want to say here is, of course, this is also on work object results. When we do the tracer, we'll be understanding. If the session ends, I'll be putting the new link in the group. So don't worry, guys. Py status work, right? Py status work. I have to set, what should I set there? Param dot new status. Whatever we are going to pass there, don't worry about that. We'll see that what we are going to pass there. Okay. Once this is done, once this step is done, what do I have to do? I also have to save that, or else it won't get saved. What do I use to save? What do I use to save? Obj save, right? Obj save. Just see what I'm trying to do. I'll explain you piece by piece. Don't worry about that. All we have done is created 2 steps here. Is the loop, sorry, oh my god, I can't take those questions right now. Let me first complete this and then we'll see your questions. Okay, perfect. So now we were able to create 2 steps. See, if I Minimize it. How many steps does this activity have? 2 steps. First thing is fetching all the records you want to modify. Second thing is updating all the records you wanted to update. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Perfect. Let us save this. Saved it. Now let us try to run this and trace it also. Very important. How much time is left? I'm sorry. Just don't want to get disconnected while I'm explaining. 6 minutes. I think I can explain this, but let us see. Okay, trace. And do I have everything is what I want to verify. Just give me a second. Activities, perfect. Activities are going to be traced. DB query. Okay, perfect. I think I have everything. Let us see if we are able to trace it properly. Run. What is the status we are trying to modify here? Whatever is in pending customer info, I want to change it to what I want to change it to? Pending new customer info. Yes or no, guys? Right? Let us copy this guy. Control C. Come here. I want to change it to pending new customer info. Yes or no, guys? Right? Let's see if it is getting traced. Very important, we have to trace it, or else you won't be able to understand. Run. You should see a success message telling that okay, successfully we were able to run, or you will see an error, whatever it is. Error. Let us see what the error is saying us. See, if you see the trace, let us come down. 267 steps, no worries. The first step is fetching the records, yes or no? Through obj browse, step 1. This is the steps column. This was a step 1. It started, it fetched all the records. If you see step number, line number 3, it is telling get py status work and pzins key from this table, where the status is pending customer info. Yes or no? This should give us a result which is having 10 records. Let us see. Obj browse. Right. If you see, this got completed. See how many records have come back? The result count. Right? That's the same amount we had here. Yes or no? There are 10 work objects with this status. That's why it is fetching. The obj browse is fetching perfectly fine. That step is successful. I understood that. I can see here. Right? And if you see, the second step also has started. If you open here, see px, do we see the first index? Work list px results of 1, and the pzins key for that is this, and the status is this. This is what we fetched, right, as part of obj browse. Yes or no? Perfect. You can also see on clipboard. On clipboard also you can see if this particular page is available. Px results, where is it? Should be on standard thread, I guess. I went, sorry. Let me switch to standard thread. See, work object results. Sorry, the list, work object list. If I expand this, I'll see px results. Is this a page list, guys? Yes or no? See, it got fetched. All the 10 records are there. See, are we able to see that, verify that all the 10 records have been fetched as part of step 1? Step 1 has been successful, guys. Let us agree to it. Can we agree? Perfect. Now, going back to tracer. If the session ends, I'll be sending you the link, guys. Don't worry about that. Now, going back to tracer. Now, if you see in the next step, the first work object was picked up in step 2, at the child step 2.0, 2.1 and 2.2. And if you see, obj open by handle has happened, where the work object is being fetched. Let us see what happens. Let's go slightly up on step 2.2 and see if it successfully is able to pull out that record. See, it was able to successfully able to pull out that record. See the step 125. You will see work object results. This is the page on top of which we are trying to do the change. Yes or no? We got that particular record. The status is still this. What we have done is we have opened it. Why do we use Obj-Open-By-Handle? Individually to open that particular record by passing the PZINS key. So, going back to our tracer, we have one whole R. Closing, open, this thing. We saw that every work object we have created. Oh, you're not able to see the screen. I'm sorry. Okay, one second. My bad. Sorry. Entire screen. Okay. So while we were debugging this, we saw that now we are in the first, inside the loop we are on the first work object, and then the third step where we are doing obj save. Here the property set is successful. If you see the property set, you see this, the status should be changed here. What is the status for that first work object? 8005. Now in the loop, pending new customer info. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right? The step was successful. However, the save has failed. The third step was save, right? Performing obj save. If you see, obj save started but couldn't conclude. It's telling it got failed. Let us see what has it failed. Save, delete or commit has failed because is not held. Lock is not held. What this means is, for example, let us say you have the main door of your home is in such a way that at any time only one guy can go inside. Okay, what happens if both of them try to enter the store? Like, people get stuck or some issue happens there. Yes or no? Imagine this to be, for example, the same record being modified by multiple people. So what Pega does is it tells you, hey, why don't you hold a lock on it when you're trying to save it? If you see, let's get back to our code. If you see in the second step, the first record was opened successfully. Yes or no? The first record, we got the first record in the loop, px results of 1. We opened it, and we did a property set. The set happened, but the save didn't happen. On the save step, it is telling the lock was not held. The lock was not held. Yes or no? Are we seeing that error message? Yes or no, guys? Everyone with me? Yes, no? Very important. So here, couple of tricky stuff we are doing. We are able to browse the records. We're fetching all the records from database, opening each and every record one at a time and trying to modify the status. Are we doing that here, guys? Are we doing that? We're opening and modifying that record. The status is what we are modifying. But in the Obj-Open-By-Handle, there is an option to lock and release on commit. You have to check this. What this means is, whenever you're opening that individual record based on PZINS key, you get a lock on that. In the sense, when you're trying to modify that, no one else can modify that particular work object. Let us say you have a couple of other activities running, and if you don't have a lock, if they are also trying to modify, the data gets corrupted. Yes or no? To avoid such scenarios, Pega has given you an option. When you try to provide the parameters for Obj-Open-By-Handle, you can specify, what is the PZINS key you are trying to open. And you can also tell when you're trying to work with that, you want a lock and you are going to release only when the data gets committed. Does it make sense, guys? Everyone, please. If anyone has not understood, I can repeat. Sure. So if you see, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to fetch the records and update the records. The records we are trying to fetch is whatever records or whatever work objects are in pending customer info, we want to fetch those records and we want to change that record status to pending new customer info. Is the requirement clear? We are fetching all the records which are with this status and we want to modify that. But as part of that, what do we need to do first? First, we need to get all those records which are in that status, which we are doing here. We are passing that parameter and we are telling the state, whatever has status as pending customer info, please fetch that based on, and also fetch the PZINS key for that. If you see on the clipboard, we saw all those 10 work objects with the PZINS key. Yes or no? Did we see that? Yes, we saw all that work objects which are coming and sitting on clipboard. You open your clipboard, you will be able to see that on the started thread. You are able to see all those work objects which you fetched. See, work object list, px results, obj browse step successfully running, and it is bringing you back 10 work objects which we saw here. See, all these 10 work objects with this two values we are seeing on clipboard. Very important, guys. See, that step was successful, and if you see, py status work and PZINS key are here available in this particular. Every page in this page list has those details. 8001700, all those were fetched here. Perfect. That step was successful. Now what we want to do, we want to open every work object and update this particular status. Yes or no? That is my next objective. Do we agree? So to do that, what I'm doing, I'm saying, hey Pega, can you please loop through each and every page in this particular page list and update that particular status, is what I'm saying. And to do that, first I'm creating a new page, and then I'm saying open that particular work object. How do I open that work object? Obj-Open-By-Handle is the method which we'll be using to individually open the work object. Yes or no? Why? Because it uses the PZINS key to open the work object. Didn't we do that here? Based on PZINS key, first we try to open that particular work object. Only one record got fetched. Yes or no, guys? And once I open it, what I want to do, I want to update the status from whatever is the old status to new status. Update the py status work. If you see here, the py status work is customer info. I want it to pending new customer info. That's what I'm doing. In loop, for every work object, it is doing that. It is going, opening and changing that. Going, opening and changing. However, the save was failing because we didn't lock it. When we are trying to work on that particular page or that work object, we should lock and hold it. That is why we are saying lock and release on commit. In the sense, once you are done with the operation, then release that particular work object for any others to open and modify or do anything like that. Does it make sense, guys? Does it make sense? Yes? No? Okay, very good. So now in the third step, we are saving it. Now that we modified, if you see, it has gone through all the work objects, but it didn't save them. All the saves have failed. See, px results of 2, 3, 4. Every work object it has opened, it has updated the record, but it didn't save. That is why if you try to run this query again here, you will see all are in pending customer info only. All these 10 records are still in pending customer info. See, 10 records fetched, still pending customer info. Now that we have told release on commit, let us see, let us try to execute and see. Let me close everything. I don't need all this. My bad. So we'll debug it again and we'll understand. Is the explanation making sense, guys? Okay, perfect. Now I'll try to run this again and try to understand what exactly is happening. Now that I did release, lock and release on commit, let me trace it again. Actions, run. I want to clear this, I don't want this. And my bad, sorry. I want from this to from pending customer info to pending new customer info is what we want to change it to. Run. See, it tells success. The operation completed successfully, but it just got successful is what it means. That's what you have to understand. Let's try to understand the trace. Same thing. First step, fetching the records. Successfully done. Yes or no? 10 records listed. It was able to fetch 10 records. OBJ browse. The activity is started here. Activity begin. See, step 1 begin. Step 1 and successfully fetch 10 records. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Perfect. Next step, it is able to fetch the first record, creating the new page as part of the child step. The first step is creating new page. It created a new page called WO results, and it has to perform Obj-Open-By-Handle. Successfully was able to perform Obj-Open-By-Handle, right? Close this, and someone else is trying to join. Let me let them in. Admit. Okay. So the child step number 2 is do up Obj-Open-By-Handle for this particular, for the first record, for the first page in that page list. You are passing the PZINS key to the Obj-Open-By-Handle and opening that particular work object. The open is successful. It is successful. And what do I want to do? I want to open that work object and change the status. Let me see step 3. That is where my status should be reflecting. If I open WO results, the status should be telling me pending new customer info. Sorry. Obj-Open-By-Handle, and here, right? What did I pass? Yeah, PY status work, pending new customer info. Is it appearing, guys? See, it got modified. It got successfully modified. What was the old status, guys? Pending customer info. The new status we wanted to modify is pending new customer info, which is happening. Now let us verify it has happened for all the work objects. If you see, save also is successful. Yes or no? Right now, if you see in the same way for work object, the index changed to 2 in the, because it is inside the loop. After the first work object is over, it will take up the second work object. Same way it will take up the third work object, fourth work object. See, it is creating new page and then modifying it, creating new page and modifying it. Are we able to understand how the looping is happening here, guys? until it reaches the last record 10. Till it reaches 10, it keeps doing it. Once that 10th record is reached, it knows that it got over. Now it steps out from that. See, activity ended here. So technically we were able to modify all the work objects there. Yes or no? Now let us try to run this query. Sorry. But the status is still telling pending customer info. Isn't it confusing, guys? The status has to change here, right? Yes or no? We modified it, but we see that it has not changed here. What is this? Is crazy. The system is not performing well. No, that's not the case. Whenever, if you remember my obj save class, we were talking about commit. Yes or no? We have to commit the changes after we save it. That commit we have not performed here. If you remember, in the obj save class, we didn't commit it, because we were doing it from the work class, and the save was happening as part of the commit was happening as part of transaction. Whenever you try to create an activity outside the work class and you try to initiate a obj save, you should be committing it explicitly, which is not happening here. It's in deferred queue, and you have not performed a obj save because a commit, a explicit commit, because of which these changes are not happening. But there are two places where you can specify this commit. One is in the loop. In the last step you can perform a commit, but it is not ideal. I want to commit it outside. I will tell you why. To perform commit, there is a method. There is a method to perform commit. What is that method called? If you just type commit here, you get a commit method. Don't use this. There is a method called commit with error handling. Ideally, it should get called. Okay, no, I think it is. How do we call another activity from one activity? Call, right? We use call to call that. I guess, yes, this should be the one. Let me try to search that if it is available. See, there is an activity called commit with error handling. I'm calling that activity on the third step. If you see, my activity right now has 3 major steps and one few minor steps, and which is the work object I want to save, which is wo results. Let me save this. So this activity has 3 steps, guys. One is obj browse, where you fetch all the records. Next is looping through those records and updating the work object status for each and every record. You open that record, update the record, save. Open that record, update that record, save. 10 times, because you have 10 work objects, 10 times. Once that is reached, the loop exits and come to the next step. In this step, what we are saying, commit with error handling. What this particular method will do is, it will commit the code, and will do the error handling. We can specify, you can say, you can argue with this and say, why can't we put commit exactly here, is what you can say. On the 5th step, you can add another step. Why can't we do it here? Why we don't do it like that is because, for example, if there is any issue, like we saw the error came, any error comes, what happens is the execution will stop here and the activity will come out, will halt its execution. It won't go to the further records at all. If you specify it outside, technically it will perform all the operations, like all the 10 records will be traversed. Only after that it will come outside, and when you use commit with error handling, if there are any errors also, it will gracefully exit, in the sense it will notify you, or it will put it in a logs, stuff like that. This is out of the box activity which Pega is providing you. Pega is providing you this out of the box activity. See, Pega process engine, part of process engine, where it will do certain stuff. Don't worry what it is doing. Just remember that whenever you have to commit, you have to use this commit with error handling. Now we can try to run this and see. Understood, guys? Yes? No? Very good. Let us fetch the status again and paste it and see. I could have put it first time only, but you won't be getting why exactly we need it. That is the reason I had to, like, keep it off. So if you feel that's overhead, I'm sorry, but to help you understand, we have to do it. New customer info. Close. I want to trace it, but let us see. Hold on. Okay. Trace. Run. Successful. Now let us verify the database also. Let us see if the changes are reflecting. Are there any records available with customer info? Pending customer info? Yes? No? Let us try to look for new customer info. Make sense, guys? Was it understood? How can we use Obj-Open-By-Handle in Pega through activity to open records and perform update operations? Yes? No? Only three steps. Only three steps. One second step had child steps. What are we doing here? Something which we already did. All this we have already seen, right? The only new step here is Obj-Open-By-Handle. Yes or no? Does it make sense? Now, if you see, I had already opened this. If you see the status for, no, sorry, I think I closed that work object. Now, those work objects, when you try to access from user interface, you will see that they are appearing with the fresh status. See if you want for yourself. Right, you can click here and you will see, 8001 was something, I guess. Yeah. Pending new customer info. See, database got updated. UI also is showing your fresh status. Did we understand how Obj-Open-By-Handle can be used today, guys? Yes, no. Perfect. Thank you.